Thanks, Peter. Amazing. I found up in that summer's a pretty good rainfall area, and would never dream you could grow that sort of stuff even in my rainfall area sometimes. It's yeah, unreal. So appreciate all of that. Lost words. Right, questions for Peter, because I'm sure there might be one or two.
Seawater. Why seawater?
Seawater is nature's, I guess you could say, compost tea. So if you look at seawater, it's got all, seawater is nature's compost tea. It's got all the elements, everything's in there, and it's got a lot of biology in it, like bacteria and fungi. And so then you think of it, everyone talks about things running off the land and going, where does it go? It goes down the river into the sea. All we're doing is taking it back up there and encouraging it to do its thing. You know, Nicole Masters, I've been to a couple of her courses, and again, it's like every time I go to one of them, I'm actually going, well, I didn't understand that first time, and I'm learning it the second time, and she's the one that talks about it. So all these different things like seawater, spraying milk to use, deal with nitrate poisoning, this all this sort of stuff, and very helpful. Yeah.
How much of an effect has it had on your stock performance in the time you've been doing it?
We've still got challenges in that area. There's no doubt about it. Our stock health can be a lot better, but you just, like weaning weights and everything are up. We're moving in the right direction. We've improved dramatically. And if you look online, there's even, you can see life everywhere. There's guys that have been on the farm that are talking about the bees and the birds, and you just see it. It's just crazy. So, we've got really, really good soil to really, really poor soil on our property because we're, the diversity of the country, and with that you've got to deal with things. So the way in which we've dealt with that, from going to the courses with Nicole, she has a lot of reading from Pat Colby and that sort of stuff. So we're right into creating mineral feeders. So we've got about 30 of them that we drag around the farm with 6 little buckets, where we've got zinc sulfate or kelp and humate and things like Dan mix and that they can self-medicate with out around the farm to deal with any deficiencies as well.
Yeah. Are you straight merinos there?
No, we're half-bred.
Half-bred.
Yeah, so we're half-bred and Angus.
And do you notice any differences between the country you've done that to and the stuff that you haven't, stock performance-wise?
It's hard to, we've gone everywhere.
Yeah.
We're at different stages of going different places. And to go and isolate because we're in rotations all the time, it's hard to pick an area and say, well, we haven't done anything there, if you understand what I'm saying. So we're in different phases. Some places we're 1-2 years into it, other places we're 4 years into it. But every year we're learning stuff and improving what we do. So when it comes to stock, like I'm not the guy that's hands-on dealing with them day to day. But you look at, like I said, the weaning weights and everything, it's gone next level. Yeah.
Fertiliser bill from start to finish.
Okay, when we started out, we were spending a lot of money on fertiliser. At one stage, I was with this whole sort of thing. I was spending, let's say, $400,000. Okay, that's with seeding, cultivating, all the cultivation costs and everything. And in that I was doing, might have been $65,000 worth of seed in there. Okay, now most of that money's going to seed. Okay, so I spend $20,000 on fertiliser.
So what your plants are harvesting out of the soil has become the fertiliser.
Yes, but here's the key thing in it. When I started out on the whole thing, I was doing, let's say, 200, 250 hectares. Now I can do 1,000 for the same money.
Yep. When you did the VSA on your soil, your profile of your whole property, did you measure carbon at that stage?
No. So what I had is, we used to utilise a lot of woofers, and one of the guys that came out was an Argentinian agronomist. And so he ran around, and we had Graham Shepherd come down and had him run around and do it all. He did it. And so I've got a report and everything on it, so I've got a baseline on the whole property. We got soil tests, We've got the visual soil assessments and GPS locations, but we haven't got the carbon.
Are you going to do that?
We have some carbon measurements, but it's sort of, yeah, it's like everything, you know, you got to get there. No, I haven't got to that level.
We're doing it,
But yeah, from your side, Gwen and Landcare Research have been and done a few properties, a few paddocks, but we haven't done the whole farm by any sense of imagination.
Yeah, what's your, I guess your vision in terms of, do you see yourself doing the cover cropping continue, or are you looking to get to a permanent pasture basis and you're using it as a to regenerate your older, you know, brown top and racing?
I see them as the same. So cover crops, like when you look at cover crops, there's a lot of perennials that you can classify as cover crops. You go to cover crops of Canada and what you think is grass, they turn as cover crops in different scenarios. So what we're doing is we use cover crops, and I use perennials all the time. I've just got Leeston out of Canada. I wish I could get more grasses out of Canada that are used to the cold, because you know, ryegrass shuts down at 24 to 25 degrees, 26 degrees or whatever it is. Where I am, you know, summer gets a lot warmer than that. So we're, with this whole thing, to give you an understanding, one other location where we went, hey, this is a bit crazy, is we had a very, very old lucerne pasture, might have been 20 to 25 years, and it wasn't growing, and we went to spray it with a big glyphosate and then put a rape and some other things in there with it. Well, that came away, and then next all of a sudden the lucerne came alive and took over. And so it's there and doing better than it ever has. So what did that say? It said, you know, this theory of lucerne's only got a term. It's, you know, a term. It's all about making sure you've got the other plants in there that actually give it the will provide a symbiotic relationship to be able to manage themselves. And so it's what I was trying to show on that spreadsheet before, where I've got annual cover crops, and then perennials and cover crops. Is there's different ways of doing it. You just plugging and playing. And so when I'm going from one to another, I'm not spraying it out with glyphosate. Yeah. We're trying to just eat it down, or be able to get a mulch or what have you to then put the other seed in, and get away from, hey, I've got to get this yield, I've got to get it all to go, or that sort of mentality. Just accept that it's not always going to be perfect. You know, and if it doesn't come this year, it's going to come next year. And I've seen that happen time and time again. Like we've put stuff in, you know, lucerne base with cover crop and that sort of stuff, and we didn't have any rain. And it's very slow in coming, but it comes eventually, and then everything, bang, it's unreal. So it's just sticking to the game, really.
Last question.
What's your thoughts on the amount of nutrients you're exporting off your property as meat or wool, and how do you feel about the replacement of those? Or do you not go with that theory?
What do you, with them eating the dry matter and it going away?
Yeah, so every year you're trucking meat away and wool away.
Yes.
From your property.
Yeah.
That has to come from somewhere.
Yeah.
So it's coming from your soils and sunlight and water and...
Yeah, but if I'm feeding the livestock with my livestock, if I'm grazing pasture to that sort of level, then I'm not looking after my soil. I didn't have time to show you the photos, but we have, you know, cattle standing and stuff like that. Okay, and that's not just cover crop, it's rye corn and what have you. So you've got clover and everything, you've got rye corn that high with clover and it's going to seed. So you smash that, and then you're feeding the biology under the ground. So it's getting into this mentality of you've got to look after the biology like you have to look after stock.
So are you going to run out of phosphorus at some point?
Yeah.
That's kind of
I don't know, like I'm not an expert on that sort of things. Like one of the things is, like we're not using synthetic fertiliser, but I'm not saying no to using like guano and that sort of stuff as well, with the biological stimulants when I need it. So we're not organic, where if we need to use something, then we will use it, absolutely, to change it, to be able to get to where we've got to go.
Yeah, I'll just touch on that. I think in this situation, when you've got this level of diversity and these symbiotic relationships, I've seen it personally as guys can actually grow their nutrient banks in their soils without any inputs, even with harvesting animals and cash crops as well. It's a bit hard to get your head around that because we look at these historic, look at the approaches of fertiliser applications as far as mineral demand in certain crops in certain contexts, and so we have to replace that demand or that removal rate. You would have all been aware of this term removal rate. I think that's sort of what you're talking about. In this context, it just isn't a factor. In fact, we can see them grow while still removing nutrients from the soil without even adding any, just from the symbiotic relationship.
Just like this year, I've got, when we get to eat some of these things, it's all gone to seed. Some of it's gone to seed, and so then all of a sudden it's going to go again. It's even going now. So it's getting into that crazy thing where everything's going to seed. It's not that perfect looking pasture. We get weeds. I don't worry about it. Okay, people are talking about weeds. Weeds are growing because the biology in the ground is saying there's a problem and they're coming up to try and fix it. And so now I've got to go and plant more stuff and spray other things to be able to change the environment, to be able to remove them if I want to remove them, or use the likes of something where I'm breaking it down and then spraying. So I'm breaking that product down that I want to remove and using that bacteria that's breaking it down and spraying it out to get rid of it. So instead of getting caught up in the whole thing, so it's getting into a cycle where we're trying to get pastures a lot higher than in a traditional system, because what happens as soon as you get pastures up here, all of a sudden you create your own little microclimate down here. Okay, so it's like being in a greenhouse. So when you have pasture that high and you've got 40 degrees with the hairdryer going, the soil just is dry. But when it's that high and you've got that environment and you get a little bit of rain, then the moisture stays. And then all of a sudden the soil starts to, everything starts to work together. And if you've got all these root systems going everywhere, the roots are going, all through the soil profile, different types of roots, and it really changes things. I think that's about me anyway, so thanks very much.
Thank you.